Hi and welcome to the channel. This is James and I'd like to start by apologising. So usually in the backdrop to our episodes of our podcast, we have some epic entertaining football matches going on that myself, Sess, Coops and other guests have played over the recent days. But this time it's just Sess and Coops who decided the teams while I was out the room, and this is what we're left with. So apologies if you don't know or like the team that's playing against Viking. But no, hopefully you guys have enjoyed the first season of the podcast. Sess and I decided to set it up just to have a laugh, really, and to share what ideas we had to fix football, which, I'm sure every fan has their own ideas on it. But no, the reception's been brilliant. So yeah, thanks very much from us. Have a great summer, and we'll be back in a few weeks. We've got some exciting plans for our season 2. We want to try and make it bigger and better than the last one. So yeah, enjoy the episode, and we'll see you soon. Hello and welcome to the season finale of the podcast, where we look to reassure you that football is fixable. All right, Sess.
All right.
Here we are. We've made it.
Yeah.
It's been a long old season.
It really has. It's been tough. People say, don't they, that players get tired towards the end of the season and stuff. Same for us.
Yeah. The minutes we've spoken. I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
We've got no subs as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. We bring on an extra player or two every now and again to share.
But we've had to play from the start to finish.
Yeah. And it's been successful, hasn't it, mostly?
Yeah. I mean, if more than one person listens to it, that's a success, right?
Yeah. We're happy with that.
Yeah.
So today we're going to look at Gareth Southgate's kind of overall reign as England manager. We want to give him a fair assessment because there's been lots of kind of positive and really negative news and views on him. Would you agree, Sess, in terms of it's very, I suppose it's the England manager job, but
it's been to the extremes. So a lot of people are very pro him or very anti him. And I think what we've done is we've looked at a lot of statistics and analysis that hadn't really been viewed before when analysing him.
We want to present a more kind of rounded view, don't we? So how would we rank kind of the Gareth Southgate era, if you like? So I've got some stats for you to start off with. So win ratio wise for England, he's on 59.8%. So in terms of games, that's 102 games, 61 wins, 24 draws and 17 losses. However, his major tournament win ratio is 53.8%.
A slight dip.
So yeah, it's actually, and you're thinking, okay, you're playing against more elite teams and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
53.8%. He's the 6th highest ranked manager in terms of win ratio for England.
Does that include Sam Allardyce and his 100% win ratio?
Yes, it does. So I believe he's top, in fact, with 100%. But
he's won he's won all game.
Yes,
he's managed
all game that he managed. Yeah, he was. He won that game and then moved on. So if we don't include Sam Allardyce, then Gareth Southgate is in the top 5. What were your kind of what's your memories on where England were when Gareth Southgate first sort of inherited the England job?
Yeah. That was the lowest point, really, wasn't it? The lowest point I can remember.
So 2016.
We lost against Iceland, who I think the population of Iceland is less than Exeter.
Wow.
Yeah.
And fair play to him, but that was Roy Hodgson era, wasn't it? It ended on a real low point.
Yeah.
And that kind of era of England players we had to kind of move on from. Really,
I mean, we had a series of tournaments where we didn't really get too far, but the Iceland one, 2016, that was our absolute.
Yeah, that felt like a real low, didn't it? Yeah. In our lifetime, what's the furthest we've been to, actually? Like 1990, but we weren't really old enough to remember it. So our lifetime of watching England's been quite a difficult watch, I suppose, really.
Even though, 2008, we didn't even qualify for the Euros, but I feel as though I didn't feel as low as in 2016. It almost felt as though 2008, that was just a blip. We should get further. But then 2016, I was just thinking, we're just going to keep going down and down.
Yeah.
There is no future.
Very true. So that was the kind of context that Gareth inherited the England job. It was interim manager initially, wasn't it? But then he became the full-blown
He
England
declined
manager.
It, apparently, Sam Allardyce.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So he said no, so they went to Big Sam.
And
I
then
didn't know that. Sam won all game.
Yeah,
and
he did,
they went back to Southgate.
Yeah, it's amazing why they got rid of Sam, really.
Right? Yeah.
Can't believe what, with a ratio like that. So there we are. Shall we get into some of his kind of positive... What's the positive arguments for Southgate? Shall we get into that?
Yeah.
My first thoughts on kind of the positives for Gareth, and we've talked about it on previous episodes, is kind of how he kind of changed that culture. You remember, like, Rio Ferdinand talked about it was quite cliquey back, that golden generation with, Lampard, Gerrard, Ferdinand, and David Seaman, I suppose. All those kind of all merged together, didn't it? But
yeah, he said the United, Liverpool, Chelsea players, they all just kind of sat together, didn't they?
Yeah, they wouldn't kind of work together. They felt, because of the Prem, the intensity of the Prem, the competition between them at club level, they never really got on. They weren't friends, really, were they? From what it sounds like.
And the media was very much against
wasn't it?
The national team.
Yeah, it was always in the news, wasn't it? All the kind of negative publicity. It was all focused on the players behind the scenes or what they've been doing in their social lives, and it just felt, growing up. I think that might be one reason. I know we've kind of hinted at this in the past, but I think it might be one reason why I'm more of a fan of my club than I am as the England national team, in a sense.
Yeah, I can understand
I'm
that.
more loyal to my club, in a sense. I've got a closer relationship, I feel, with it.
Yeah, because I definitely think, whatever people think about how Southgate did as a manager, I feel closer to the England national team now than I did previously.
Yeah. And that's credit to him, isn't it? He really changed that culture. The players seem like they're, from the outside, very much seem like a family. He's kind of manipulated, but he's kind of organised the media well around the national team, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's also taken a lot of the flack in order to take it away from the players as well, I've noticed.
He's kind of, taking the responsibility for everything.
You had people like Glenn Hoddle would be willing to blame the players in order to... If he thought that it was something that wasn't necessarily his fault, he would happily blame the players, wouldn't he? He did it with Beckham and a couple of others, whereas Gareth never really did that. He would just take it on himself.
He was very clever politically, wasn't he? He seemed like he always did the right thing for PR side of things. He was very good at kind of mastering that.
You know what I think? You know the comment he made, I think it was during the Euros, when he said that there was no replacement for Calvin Phillips. I think that was tactical.
Oh, right.
We kind of have this feeling, don't we? That's his style of play. He wants a double pivot and stuff. Yeah. I think he said something like that to take a lot of the flack away from the players in order to get everyone talking about him. It's got to be something like that.
It did seem a bit of a silly thing to say.
Really silly. He never said anything like that before. And yet, during the tournament, when a lot of the players were getting a lot of flack, it just came out of nowhere. And I just feel as though... It fits perfectly if you think that was tactical. Yeah,
with what we've been saying and how he'd been so good with PR and taking that responsibility. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting point, actually.
Yeah. If we look at just the tournaments that he's managed, so not the friendlies or the Nations League, which we don't really count as a tournament, do we? Then the first one is the 2018 World Cup. So, do you remember when we finished?
Was it... No, semis, wasn't it? Semi-finals.
Semi-finals, exactly. Yeah. Now, so he won the 2 out of the 3 group games. Okay. And then we won against Colombia on penalties in the last 16.
I remember that, because that was when, was it James Rodriguez was scratching up the penalty spot?
Yeah, that was the one, yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, then we beat Sweden in the quarterfinals, and then we lost to Croatia in the semis. Yeah. So that was the first semi-final that we got to since, 1990, is it?
It felt like progress, didn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. It was pride in the nation to a certain extent, wasn't
it? And if you remember, he brought in a lot of the younger players as well, so it was kind of like a changing of the guard. It was very much just a way to bring back a bit of hope. It seemed nice and refreshing, didn't it?
Yeah, it was it. It was kind of, it freshened things up a little bit, and it got you more into the team. Actually, you stole one of my points there, because I was going to say, one thing, as well as that culture shift, that behind the scenes, you could see it on the pitch, it helped bring through all these young players. Yeah. I think Foden came through under his tenure, and then you've got the likes of Saka and now Bellingham as well. Yeah. These kind of young players coming through. Whereas it seemed like before, it was only players who'd been there, seen it, done it, and kind of proven... at the top level in the Prem, been around for a number of years. Yeah. Do you remember Sven took Theo to the World Cup. Never played though.
Yeah.
But that was always a bit of a strange thing, because it was always these senior players, whereas now under Gareth Southgate you kind of felt like, takes the pressure off all these young players. Come on in, kind of thing. It felt like it was less intense, it was more welcoming.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it probably showed, it culminated in the 2020 Euros. That's the next tournament that he managed. It was played in 2021, if you remember.
The COVID thing.
It's still 2020. So that's the one. He won 2 in the group games and he drew the other one. Then we beat Germany in the last 16, Ukraine in the quarters, Denmark in the semis, and we only lost to Italy on penalties in the final.
Yeah, agonising, wasn't it?
Yeah. So absolutely, in terms of the results, we're looking at a vast improvement to not only the 2018 World Cup, but I mean, we beat the 1990 semi-final. We'd have to go all the way back to 1966.
So, the best performance we've had, really, in terms of position.
Yeah, exactly. After that, we got the 2022 World Cup. Do you remember where we finished in there?
Where were we in 2022? Where was that one?
I can't remember where that was. Oh, that was Qatar.
Oh, yeah. Was that... Oh, no, wait, that was when we got knocked out of France, wasn't it?
It is, yeah. Quarterfinals against France. Right. So, again, we won 2 in the group stages, drew 1. Then beat Senegal last 16, and then beaten 2-1 in the quarterfinals to France.
That is where we bring this up a lot. When he took Saka off, he was tearing France apart.
Yeah,
and we should have had another penalty as well, to be fair. But
that's true. Yeah.
And then he takes Saka off.
Yeah,
and then suddenly the
France had
disappears.
to change their formation a couple of times, didn't they? They were struggling against France. Southgate was on the sidelines thinking, I need to take Saka off. He's doing too much.
I need to make a change. I feel I need to do something managery. Let's Saka. Let's take him off.
Yeah. So then after that, we got the 2024 Euros. That actually happened quite recently. James, do you remember?
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Where were we in that one? Oh yeah.
Do you actually not remember?
Oh no. Where? Oh, it's Germany.
Yeah.
There we go.
So that one, we won 1 game in the group stages and drew the other 2, but we did get to the final and we lost against, who was it, James?
I was going to say Germany there. It was Spain.
Exactly. Yes. We lost 2-1 in the final there.
We did. Yeah.
But that means of his 4 tournaments, he got to 1 quarter-final, 1 semi-final, and 2 finals. Yeah. He's actually been to more finals than a quarter or a semi.
Yeah, so in terms of the general progression of the team, I mean, it's clear progress, isn't it? We're making in our lifetime, this was amazing for us to see.
Yeah.
We weren't around during 1966. All we could do is hear songs and people talking about it who were there. But for us, we'd never witnessed anything. Where suddenly it felt like our generation was getting to kind of the latter stages. It
definitely felt like consistency as well. There's young kids nowadays growing up thinking that this is what England is meant to be. Yeah. We're meant to be going into the semis and the finals and everything. Yeah. When in actual fact,
in our lifetime, no.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very recent thing, and it's a very Gareth thing as well. It's completely correlated to Gareth's reign.
Yeah. So he is now our most successful manager since 1966.
Are we talking about successful as in how far we got into tournaments?
Yes, I didn't write any numbers down with that judgment, but yes, it is.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if you talk about success in terms of winning trophies, then he would be... there's only one person, isn't there?
I think building on what you were just saying there in terms of our finishes, how far we got in the different tournaments, he's now our most successful manager since. Yeah. And possibly win ratio as well, if he's in the top 5.
Alf Ramsey had a higher win ratio, though.
Yeah, he was manager in 66, though, wasn't he? So since 66.
Oh, since, yeah. Then yes, I agree.
Brilliant. So, however, when you look more closely, is it all good?
Well, it looks exactly the same, but a bit blurry, really.
Look, you've got to tell me if you're going to make these jokes. If you look more closely at not just the numbers, but also the kind of performances as well, I think we should probably look at the flip side too, right?
Yeah, I think so. When I was looking at these statistics, I decided to use FIFA rankings. And FIFA rankings aren't necessarily accurate. You wouldn't necessarily say the third placed ranker is the third best. However, you could say the top 10 or top 5 are some of the best, and the worst 10 or worst 5, they're some of the worst. You know, it's a good guideline.
Yeah, and it's generally consistent as well. So to get, depending on your place, it's measured by the same measures.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if I say to you now, how good was Croatia in 2000, for example, you won't remember. However, the FIFA rankings will be pretty much a good guideline as to where they were.
I like it.
Right?
You've done your homework. This is good.
I have done my homework. And this is the kind of thing that I don't think people do. You know, they just look at Southgate just on a standard level. They'll just see how many wins, how many losses and stuff. And doesn't take into account the teams around that time, how good they were, you know. So with his 4 tournaments that he managed in, not a single one of the teams he lost against were ranked lower than us. So they were
right. So they're all teams that were, by FIFA's rankings, better than us.
Exactly.
Right,
so we got knocked out by... in fact, actually, some of the teams that beat us were ranked lower than us.
Oh, right.
So Croatia knocked us out in 2018. They were ranked lower than us.
Yep.
And we also lost to Belgium twice, who were ranked higher than us. And in 2020, we got knocked out by Italy, who again were ranked lower than us. But we beat every team that's lower than us before that.
So ones we were expected to beat, in a sense. Okay.
2022, we got knocked out by France. They were the only team that we played who were ranked higher than us, and they were the ones that knocked us out. And against Spain in the Euros just gone, they were actually ranked lower than us. However, again, they beat us. Not a single team that were ranked higher than us in those 4 tournaments did we beat.
So even though you can present stats in one way to sort of say, well, look at our performances, our results and stuff like that, we're getting better.
Yeah.
However, is there progress in that sense? Would a different manager have had the same success perhaps? Or
Exactly. If you look at the 4 tournaments prior to him being manager, it actually works out pretty much the same way. Aside from the 2016 Euros, that's the one against Iceland, we lost against a team that's far lower than us in the FIFA rankings, and we've said that's the absolute low point, really.
Yeah.
So if you take that out of the equation for now, actually in the previous tournaments, it's exactly the same. We've beaten teams that we're expected to beat, that are lower than us in the rankings. However, we got knocked out by the teams that are higher than us in the rankings. And in the 2010 World Cup, for example, we got knocked out by Germany. In the last 16, then knocked out by Italy last 16 in the 2012. Then we didn't get through the group stages in 2014 because we lost to Italy and Uruguay in the group stages, who were again higher than us in the rankings. So in actual fact, the reason why we got knocked out earlier was only really because we met the teams that were higher ranked than us earlier in the tournament. Whereas in the 4 tournaments that Southgate managed, we met those teams a lot later in the tournament, so we didn't have to meet a higher ranked or a high ranked team, I should say, until the final in the Euros in both 2020 and 24.
Well, that's one thing that's been thrown out, recently as well in the recent tournament, is Gareth's had quite a bit of luck with the draw, hasn't he, in terms of the side of the draw we've been on, the fixtures we've had. So that's kind of helped us to get as far as we have done.
Absolutely.
It adds a bit of kind of context to it, doesn't it? That, would another manager in the same situation have got at least as far as that, perhaps?
Yeah.
Especially that era before Gareth took over, and going back to that golden generation as well.
Yeah.
The teams we were playing against then, that Brazil, that France side, we've talked about it before. How good were they?
Yeah.
Whereas
you can't say that they didn't have golden generations.
Yeah.
At that time
it was kind of bad timing for that golden generation for us, in a sense. Whereas now, are the other teams... I mean, Spain have been, when 2010... No, was it 2008, 2000... When they won...
2008, 2010 and 2012.
Yeah, they were absolutely... That Spanish team was amazing.
Yeah.
And the Germans as well. Always generally pretty strong. Although this year, the Germans were one of the weakest... And in the last tournament, actually, they're not generally...
They had brilliant... They were the second most informed team this tournament, Germany, I would say, after Spain.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But yeah, you've got to say they're rebuilding, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going through that transition, which we talked about on a previous episode, didn't we? Whereas, so Southgate's kind of had a lucky run as well, in a sense.
Yeah, and I think the stats kind of show it. We have definitely shown under Southgate that we were more consistent in being able to beat teams that we should.
Yeah.
Whereas before we'd draw against Algeria, for example, or Costa Rica. However, you could say the same thing about the latest tournament. We drew against Slovenia, who are one of the lowest, I think might be the lowest ranked team in the last 8 or 10 tournaments.
Wow.
And I don't think we got anywhere near scoring against them, did we? So definitely we did better statistically against under Southgate's reign. However, the main thing that pops out, if you look at the statistics, we're no different to before, where we get knocked out by the teams that are expected to beat us.
Yeah.
And we just happen to have met those teams later in the rounds under Southgate's reign. I also had a look at the average FIFA rankings for the teams we played against in the tournaments.
Oh, okay.
So just so that I don't have to read out every FIFA ranking for every team we played. So I'll give you an example. The 2018 World Cup, that's the first one that Southgate managed. France won that tournament, and the average FIFA ranking for the 7 teams they played against was 14. So 14th is the average ranking for all 7 teams.
Okay.
For Southgate, for the it's 6 teams, I suppose, that they played against. We played Belgium twice, so I only calculated them once.
Yeah.
It's 23. So it's quite a bit lower.
Whoa,
so that's you can see that's even with Belgium, who were 3rd ranked that time.
Wow.
So you can see how much lower the rankings are compared to the team that's expected to win. And that's pretty much across the board. If you look at the winning teams, the average FIFA ranking that they play against, you've got 13 in the next one, 18 in the one after that. The most recent tournament with Spain, it is 26, but that's only because they played Georgia, who was 74th, and Albania, who was 66th. That's
So it skews it.
It skews it. If you take those guys away, it's 8. Because they played against the 2nd, 5th, 9th, and 10th. You've got to put between 10 and 15 is the average, usually, even if you go all the way back to 2000s.
Okay.
Whereas with Southgate, like I say, 2018 was 23. In the Euros 2020 is 21. In Euro 2022, World Cup 2022, it was 15. So that was actually really low for us, and it was actually lower than Argentina's average. And Argentina won that tournament.
Wow.
However, that's when we got knocked out the earliest under Southgate's reign. We got knocked out in the quarterfinals.
Interesting.
And then the latest Euros, 27. That was the lowest one of all.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It felt like we had an easy run again. So it supports what we were saying in terms of that he's had the roll of the dice, if you like.
Yeah.
And he's had his luck along the way.
Yeah. The teams that win, clearly they have a more difficult run of games because they're having to play teams that are far lower in the FIFA rankings.
Yes. And I think most people would say, agreed that the Spanish team that won the most recent Euros, they were clearly the best side. They deserved it. We said it, and their run to the final kind of proves it as well. They beat all the top sides that they came up against, really, didn't they?
And one final thing to look at is that if you look at the 4 tournaments prior to Southgate, the average FIFA rankings, we actually either played the same average FIFA rankings as the teams that won or lower. So it's actually been far tougher for us, or as tough for us as the teams that even won the tournament.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to say, this analysis you've done, you're going to get a pay rise if this keeps up, Seth. You're doing
thanks. Well. See, I would say that The Athletic is a very good analysis YouTube channel. Our rivals, I suppose. But, I mean, they've got stuff wrong before, haven't they? Whereas we still haven't got anything wrong. And don't listen back to our... or actually, do listen back to our episode.
Yeah, hang on. What are you saying? Can we move away from the stats? Because I've got some other things I want to bring in as well. And, you talk about the eye tests and stuff as well. Whenever it's come to certain moments in games, especially in the finals and semi-finals, we talk about that Saka decision against France in the quarters as well. But in the Italy final a few years ago in the Euro whatever it was, final. 2020 final, we were questioning kind of that elite decision. We scored early, and then we just always kind of seem to sit back, and it's the tactics, like, well, why don't we go and grab the game by the scruff of the neck? And we sat deeper and deeper, invited pressure. Italy are a good side, no doubt, and then there's a few decisions he brought, was it Rashford and Sancho on late on to take a penalty and stuff. It's a bit of a gamble. It's bold, actually, in a sense, from Gareth. But it's those kind of key moments, those elite decisions. He tends to not make the right one.
Yeah.
You know, so it kind of feels away from the numbers that he's not always doing what he should be doing.
Yeah, I suppose those are the moments as well where he's playing against the teams that are expected to beat us.
Yeah.
That's when we usually get beaten. And the substitutions, we've quite often said, are his Achilles heel in a sense.
Yeah, very reactive. It's not proactive.
Yeah,
as well,
he's done well in a lot of the squads that he chooses. I think there's very few times when we've kind of disagreed with decisions he's made. He made quite a few bold decisions. He's the first one to not pick Rooney as well, I think.
Right.
So you probably enjoy that.
Don't know what you're talking about.
But yeah, the substitutions, I think, were one of his weak areas, where we said in the last episode his substitutions are very late, which means that he's desperate to keep the tactics and the players,
the structure,
exactly the same from the word go. And he only really wanted to change that when he was desperate. And when he changed it, quite a lot of the times it worked and it was better, which people praise him for, but I've quite often said, well, why couldn't we do that from the beginning?
Yeah, but also when that happened, like in this tournament, for example, the most recent tournament, there were moments where we'd get a goal and then the structure was gone. Players didn't know where they were playing. It was a bit of a shambles. The Switzerland game, when we scored I think we scored to equalise, didn't we?
Yeah.
And took it to extra time. The team on the pitch, the sort of players were all over the place. I think Saka played about 3 positions.
Yeah.
Some of the players, like we had too many midfielders on. We lost our shape. It seems. I just wonder. Some of the coaching. I do wonder what they're doing behind the scenes and if they're prepared for sort of different scenarios. It's so rigid tactically, and it's really defensive, which isn't always going to get loads of fans. You think club level, the Spurs fans hated Jose because of his defensive style. We want to see entertaining football. I mean, if you have to win if you're going to play that style.
Yeah.
And Gareth just never convinced anyone, I don't think.
No.
It seemed to be anyway. That he certainly didn't convince me that he was going to actually beat the big teams and win when he needed to.
No, definitely. Because I think the first tournament with the 2018 World Cup, we were satisfied with the semi-final, even though we've basically shown that he had an easy run, and we lost against a team that we really should have beaten, Croatia. However, we've kind of proven that we can't beat the teams that are better than us. However, we were satisfied with that, even if he played in a pragmatic way, because
it was a semi-final.
It was a semi-final, and also that was his first tournament. You only have to win 7 games to win that tournament, in which case it's probably best to do it in a pragmatic way. If you're not that experienced. Fair enough.
That's fine, yeah.
Euros 2020, again, he was quite pragmatic. However, he got us to the final and we lost on penalties. So we again forgave him for that, really, because we were so close. The 2022 World Cup, that was when we started saying, didn't we, that his tactics really kind of let us down in a sense when he took off Saka against quarterfinals, for example. It kind of showed the cracks. But we beat Iran 6-2, Wales 3-0, Senegal 3-0. We had good. We clearly did well up front, and so it's quite difficult to say that he failed fully in that sense, even though it was the quarterfinals. This was the Euros 2024. That was supposed to be the pinnacle. This was what it was building up to.
Building up to, exactly.
Yeah. And we, right from the start against Serbia. Well, I mean, let's not say right from the start. First 25 minutes was great. But
it's some of the best football in the tournament for us, wasn't it?
That was it, yeah. After those 25 minutes, we just were not convinced at all. Even though he got us to the final, we said before the tournament that our final is really the minimum we'd hoped for this kind of squad, the players that we have, the style that we can play. Yeah.
And that's the thing, these players at club level, for the teams they're playing for, a lot of them are playing for the elite sides at club level, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's Kane. He's playing for Bayern Munich. We've got Foden at City. We've got Saka at Arsenal. We've got Bellingham at Real Madrid. These players want to be playing attacking football. Yeah. They don't want to be sat back being restrained all the time. Like you say, I get the kind of, sometimes you need to be a bit more pragmatic to maybe, it's a tournament football, you don't want to be too open in that, but these players, it felt like, until they changed the system, which I do wonder how, that was again reactive to a certain extent, that was when we started to see a bit more of what the players could do. You were saying it all throughout the tournament, play them in the best positions.
Yeah.
And another thing,
another thing.
Loyalty. he kept Kane on when apparently there's rumours, I don't know, but he was injured for some of that for the final. He wasn't fit, not 100% anyway, and we could clearly see he had little to no impact on the game. We spoke about it in our last episode. Please go back and listen. But I wouldn't have even started with Kane. I said Watkins because he's a perfect player to kind of get in behind the Spanish side. But not only did he play Kane, he kept him on for such a long time. Did he play the whole game? No, he came off late on, didn't he?
He came off late on. The one thing about the loyalty, I completely agree, by the way, that his loyalty definitely did seem to, I don't know if it's stifling the team as such, but it definitely made it so rigid that it didn't allow a lot of freedom. But I would say that the previous managers also suffered from the same thing.
Yeah.
And they didn't, they weren't any more successful. I'm not saying. Like Capello, Sven, they were all the kind of people that they stuck with. Capello stuck with Rooney when he probably shouldn't have. Sven stuck with Beckham when he shouldn't have. So, and they weren't successful either. So they probably all suffered from the same loyalty trait in a sense. But I think with Southgate, he was very loyal to the people that I didn't really understand.
Like Maguire. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I think the only reason he didn't play this tournament is because he was injured, wasn't he? He would have been in there then. And you've got players who had hardly played during the season. Was like Phillips one of that? Calvin Phillips wasn't he? In some of the build-up, the qualifiers and things, I
was really worried that he was going to get chosen, and Henderson as well. Actually.
But he played in some of the qualifiers and stuff, even though he hadn't played a minute for City or something. It's ridiculous. Well, 12 minutes, I think, was he played 12 minutes for City and he'd been called up for England.
Oh wow!
Some of these, it's just like, come on, Gareth.
Yeah,
that's not how it should be done.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. And we said before that I think it was The Athletic actually that was saying that there is something to say about loyalty, because then you play the best players for the tactic as opposed to kind of shoehorning the best players into the team, whatever the case. Which that's one of the things that I think Athletic got wrong, because it turned out when they used France as an example, and France were one of the worst teams in the whole tournament. Really,
Rabiot, they were talking about, weren't they?
Yeah,
about him coming in to do the job for the team, that sort of thing. But look at France. I mean, other than their defence, which just going to put Saliba out there, team of the tournament.
Yeah,
he's in there once again. Oh, he's brilliant. But without him, I wonder where would they even have got as far as they did, to be honest. Because they were a bit all over the place this time.
Yeah, exactly. It felt as though it was different. But the teams that we played against probably helped to inflate the kind of positions that we finished in. And then he slowly kind of fell back into the same traits that other England managers went down, the loyalty route, being a bit more pragmatic. The way he played, it definitely felt as though we were the underdogs. I was saying to you, wasn't I, that before the tournament, that I think the way we should play is the way that City plays, Arsenal plays, Liverpool plays.
High press, intense, attacking.
Exactly. We're not going to be the ones soaking up the pressure. I mean, if you look at the final against Spain, Spain was something like the 11th highest in terms of possession in the tournament. So they weren't, that's middling of the whole tournament. And yet they had 70% possession in the final.
Yeah, we could barely get out of our half at times, could we?
Spain,
that's the thing, because Spain, people saying, okay, well, they could be caught out because they can get in behind them and stuff like that. They just play attacking football. They put their best players in the best positions, and they play to a style that suits the team.
Yeah.
And England, we tried to soak it up, and for some reason as well, tactically, we went back to a back four again.
Yeah.
We didn't kind of build on what we were trying to do. I'm sure Gareth had his reasons and everything, but we didn't play like we did in the last three games when we started to change the shape to a back five and sort of have that box in midfield where we're able to get Mainu and Rice on the ball and Bellingham and so on. So it all seemed a bit tactically. I'd question Gareth. I mean, who am I? Who am I, Seth? But
I don't know.
Just in terms of tactically, I just want those key moments again, like making decisions when the pressure's on. Every manager can get it wrong, but it just seems to be I can't think of many times he actually got it right.
Do you see him as a successful manager? Would you call his reign a success?
Well, in teaching, right? I'll compare it to teaching. Hey, I had to listen to all your numbers. So we've got loads of targets, right, in teaching. So you might say student satisfaction, targets recently I've had, like you have to develop their oracy in class, their speaking and comprehension skills. How many guest speakers you get in during a year?
We're talking about Southgate, right? Not
Yeah. Give me a moment.
Oh, okay.
This is like your brilliant analogies. This is my one. So we've got loads of targets as teaching, right? And I get loads of praise if I say, oh, I brought in 3 guest speakers. I'm enriching their learning and stuff like that. It's really positive, and I get pats on the back. But there's one target that if I don't hit, well, I'm going to be slaughtered for it.
Okay.
That's going to be success rates. That's going to be their grades. If I'm bringing all the guest speakers in and their oracy is developed and I've got loads of brilliant stuff that I've done, but they're all getting U's in exams, I'm going to be under investigation for, well, what are you teaching? What's going on? That's the actual, out of all the targets, that's the most important one.
Yeah.
Going back to Southgate, that's the, has he won anything? With the players that he's got, has he, like you said with those stats, he hasn't really beaten a team that we weren't expected to because of the FIFA rankings and stuff. For me, if you're really looking at it from a business point of view, he hasn't been successful in that sense. I think that probably is a bit harsh because he has done loads of good things. I feel he's built a foundation for another manager to come on and build on, which is the best legacy I can sort of say he can have from that. The best thing I can say about him in that sense. Yeah. So it's sort of not really no.
I kind of agree with that because I think you can portray positive traits, like you say, laying foundation for the next manager, and still not be successful. I think that's fair to say. Yeah, it's
ultimately what is success for England? It's going to be winning a trophy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You could say, so Bobby Robson, for example, I think he got us the semi-final, didn't he? 1990.
Yeah.
You could say that there were positive things that came out of his reign. However, he was ultimately not successful. So I think that's the best way to look at it, because what he's done is he's got the media and the fans on England's side. A lot of us were just very critical about the tactics and everything because there was a lot to criticize, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's personal or anything.
No, exactly.
I think it was very much criticizing the tactics because we know what the players are capable of. We watch them week in, week out for 9 months, 10 months of a year.
Yeah, exactly. And if you take the England manager's job, you're going to have to expect, that's the most kind of glamorous position in football, if you're an Englishman anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
You think if you want any manager's job, it's for the national team. It's the pressure's going to be on. So if you take that job, you have to kind of take the rough with the smooth, but I'm not justifying the kind of hate or toxicity and stuff from some of the idiot fans out there who want to be really, really nasty or personal. That's not on at all. Throwing things at him.
Like Arsenal fans with the Wenger out. Oh, they're the worst kind of fans,
that I hated that as well. Those idiots that were doing that. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Football is tribal, it is emotional. We all get that. But it's knowing how to behave and knowing how you should communicate your thoughts and things. You don't have to be personal and toxic. You can critique like we do and criticize, but based on statistics, based on performance, because that's what in all of our jobs, wherever we work, we have targets, right? And that's how we're measured. We're not measured by, your mood that day was terrible or something like, that's not a target, is it? I'm trying to think of a better example than that. But
sorry, it's another one of James's classic waffles.
I'm just waffling again. But I praise the culture. One more thing.
Okay.
And another thing. Did you hear, is the culture actually that good? Because you hear about like Bellingham, apparently off camera, was having a go at Gareth during the final. He was shouting him, saying, do something. Kane's not able to run or something. He was apparently shouting at Gareth Southgate. And there's been some news articles since the final that say it's not all sort of cosy behind the scenes. There's been grumbles from Jude Bellingham's preferential treatment, dressing room tantrums, and also we know about his number 2, was it Steve Holland, is it?
Yeah.
Obviously, that Ben White thing was quite famous, but apparently he's caused a few issues as well.
Yeah. Well, we don't really know what happened there, so for all we know, Ben White punched him. We have no idea at all.
I didn't know if it was a fight. Was it? Was it a fight?
Well, I don't know. None of us know anything about it, do we? So, but I mean, it's probably more of an isolated thing because it's all to do with Bellingham. Yeah. And I think he knows as well as anyone what he and his players are capable of. And so similar to us, he's being critical of the kind of tactics that are being played.
Yeah. And I don't know, if you bring a load of young kids through basically into the England team, Bellingham, was he 21?
Yeah.
These are young people. They're going to sometimes do things that aren't that's one thing we said Gareth is brilliant at, is that PR thing. Sometimes you bring young people through, they're going to do things that you might not want them to. But
Yeah.
I just wonder if there are a few cracks behind the scenes that they haven't been able to sort of contain as well as maybe they used to. But do you know there's I think this was today actually, it's been promoted that the FA have listed the job advert and such for the new England manager.
Ah.
Yeah.
Do they have a role profile?
Yeah. Like,
We're looking for someone with 3 to 5 years experience.
GCSEs at least, A's to C. That's not even grades anymore, it's numbers. But,
Is it? Oh.
But yeah, overall, how would you grade Southgate then? As sort of, if you were grading it like a school teacher?
Are we doing our system of A to U or the number system, which I don't really understand?
Let's do the ATU one.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank God, because I don't know, 16. But I don't know what that means.
It goes up to 9. Yeah, so, yeah, but anyway,
Is what, 9 the highest?
9 is like an A star. Yeah,
Right.
That's GCSE. A level is still ATU.
Even though like first place is 1.
I did design the system. Okay.
Okay. Right. So between A and U, I would say C. I'm not going to go for the whole plus or minus thing. I'm just going to do it as an actual grade.
Yeah, I was going to say
C.
B minus, but
So the reason why I'm not going for B, even though it feels like it should be a B, is because we've taken into account the kind of teams he played against, where we ended up in terms of like how we got beaten. We got beaten by the team that should beat us, which is exactly the same as what it's been for however many tournaments before. And we had some of the easiest runs. So I would say it's probably a C. It's the other managers like Capello and stuff, probably D, E lower. So it's the
relative
grade,
to...
Yeah, so the grade I'm giving is probably higher than most other managers that came before him. But I can't necessarily say a B because he didn't once beat a team that is higher than us.
And everything we just presented, really, all of those arguments.
And he's not A because he didn't win a trophy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I was going to say somewhere between a B minus or a C plus. But yeah, looking at it, I'd give him a C, which some people say, oh, well, that's a pass, isn't it? Well, they're all passes, apart from if you're above a U. That's one thing, by the way. Everything above a U is a pass.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I'd give him a C as well, I'd agree. And one reason for that is because actually I'm happier as an England fan.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can enjoy watching England in tournaments again. I look forward to them. I didn't really used to enjoy a lot of the World Cups when I was a kid because it was just not expecting much here sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Gareth for that because I feel closer to the England team and I actually enjoy watching them more.
Definitely, because after the Euros 2016, we were saying that's the lowest point. I just thought, well, this is it. There's no future, really. Whereas now, there's almost an expectation. We can do better next time round. Maybe we can. Maybe we can win.
I suppose that's it. He's brought hope back into the team. So, yeah, I want to thank him for that. Credit to him for it. But, yeah, I think it's time to move on now to the next manager, whoever that may be. If you feel you want to apply, get in touch with the FA. Anyway, so thanks for listening, guys. This has been our kind of video essay, if you like, or audio essay.
Audio essay.
On
and this
Gareth
is our
Southgate.
finale. You won't hear from us for a few weeks.
Good luck surviving without us. No, thanks for all the support and love you've given us over the half season, I suppose, since January.
Yeah.
We'll be having a little break in planning a few things for our season 2. So,
start of the Premier League.
Yeah, we'd probably do around the start of the Prem, maybe a week or two before we're planning. So, we've got some exciting topics we're going to look at next year. But thanks very much for everything, guys. And it's goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.